Tonight, Seville braces itself for the Rangers invasion. Tens of thousands of fans are heading to Spain ahead of the team's first European final in 14 years. The city is preparing its welcome.
We are used to have these matches here and the supporters here, and I'm sure we're going to enjoy it.
I'll be reporting from the city with all of the build-up ahead of the final.
Also making the headlines, slow uptake on the free young person's bus pass, as many find it too complicated to get.
And proving you're never too old to learn. The Scottish pensioner returning to his roots to take up a career in barbering.
I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. The exodus has begun. Rangers fans are already flooding to the Spanish city of Seville, where their team will compete in their first European final for 14 years. The city is bracing itself to welcome up to 100,000 fans.
Hotels are full, bars are expected to be busy, and fan zones are being set up to cope with the influx. In a moment, we'll hear from Sheila McLaren about how preparations are going. But first, live to Rahman Bardwaj in the centre of Seville. And Rahman, 2 days until the match, but already excitement is building.
It certainly is, Kellyanne. I can tell you, I ain't no weather forecaster, but it is certainly hot, hot, hot here in the city of Seville. The Rangers squad is expected to arrive here in the city within the next half an hour ahead of this huge match on Wednesday night. Supporters are already here, and many have used all means of transport to get here because they said this is an event they simply couldn't miss. As Sheila McLaren reports.
The streets of Seville are already bustling, but it's going to get a whole lot busier over the next few days. And it will be a hectic time for the bars and restaurants of Andalusia's capital city.
We are waiting for them and just serve them beer, cocktails, whatever they want, and just enjoy with them and hope they like it.
Do you have enough beer and cocktails in?
Oh, of course, we are prepared. We ordered too many barrels and we're just waiting for them.
Seville is famous for tapas and, of course, flamenco. It's also the sunniest city in Europe, and fans will be arriving here right in the middle of a heat wave, with temperatures expected to hit the high 30s on Wednesday night. Early arrivals are already here, and some have come further than others.
Melbourne, Abu Dhabi, Madrid, Seville.
We left Edinburgh yesterday at 7 o'clock. We went to Brussels to Valencia, and then when we got to Valencia, it was an hour changeover connecting flight to get to Seville. We made it, we're here. Let's go.
Edinburgh to Madrid, then we got the crazy subway across town, and then bullet train down to Seville last night. So it's good. So bikes up to the stadium, trying to get tickets today, to no avail.
Seville is proud of its reputation as a welcoming city, as Celtic fans will remember from their final here in 2003. And city officials want to ensure this occasion is safe and enjoyable for all.
We have the necessary coordination with the rest of public administrations in order to preserve, to keep safety, health, and everything that an event such as this will require.
And back home, a couple of Rangers legends have sent a message to supporters heading out.
Hi guys, this is a message for everyone going to Seville. Go there, have a super time, support your team. Our team has done incredibly well in getting there. When you think the journey we've been on for the last 10 years to be now playing in a serious European Cup final, fantastic achievement.
I know there's going to be a lot of us going out today, quite a few of us without tickets as well, so just remember guys, please behave.
It's relatively calm here at the moment, but in just 24 hours' time, this city will be taken over by the hordes from Scotland and Germany as the countdown to the big game continues. Sheila McLaren, STV News in Seville.
Yes, we'll be reporting from the city throughout the week ahead of the huge match on Wednesday night. Later in the sports desk, we'll be hearing from the Rangers squad. But for now, it's back to you.
All right, from a sunny Seville, thanks very much, Rahman. Now, 6 months on from COP26, Nicola Sturgeon and Alok Sharma are calling on world leaders to step up the pace of tackling climate change. The COP president warned that failure to deliver the Glasgow Climate Pact would be an act of monstrous self-harm.
Speaking in Washington, the First Minister says delivering energy security must focus on sustainability. Our political editor Colin Mackay covered COP26. And Colin, what progress has there been in the last 6 months?
Well, at the time it felt like COP26 ended with a bit of a damp squib. It was a bit of an anti-climax. There was, of course, the Glasgow Climate Pact, and people were quite pleased by that because it said that countries around the world would try to limit global warming to 2 degrees by the end of this decade. The catchphrase of the conference was keeping 1.5 alive. But since then, 2 big blockages have emerged. The first is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. War is not only hellish, as we see on the news every night, it's also really, really bad for the climate. And alongside that, you've got the cost of living crisis and the soaring costs of energy. They've somewhat overshadowed the whole climate crisis situation. So COP26 President Alok Sharma said today that he's disappointed by the pace of change.
The pace is too slow. We need to quicken that pace. I mean, we had 120 world leaders who came here who made heartfelt, emotional speeches about why we needed to collectively tackle climate change, and they made promises, and those now need to be kept.
Now, First Minister Nicola Sturgeon is speaking in Washington right now, and her message is broadly similar. She says that following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, countries must prioritise their approach to energy security, obviously, but when they're doing that, they also have to focus on sustainability. So, 6 months until COP27 in Egypt, and the current backdrop is war in the Ukraine and the cost of living crisis. It makes tackling climate change a fairly hard sell around the world. But it was a pretty tough sell 6 months ago across the river in the midst of a global COVID pandemic as well. So what that shows is that none of this means that anybody around the world can afford to ignore the problems with climate change. And you can hear more of what Nicola Sturgeon is saying in Washington now and what Alok Sharma had to say to me on Scotland Tonight at 10:40.
Colin, thank you.
Other stories across Scotland now, and 300 jobs have been secured at the Babcock Dockyard in Rosyth following a £30 million deal to maintain 2 Navy aircraft carriers. The agreement will see the HMS Queen Elizabeth and HMS Prince of Wales undergo maintenance at the facility over the next decade.
15 men have been arrested following a fight before the Old Firm derby at Celtic Park earlier this month. 5 arrests were made at the time of the disturbance near the Forge retail park in the morning of the match. A further 10 men have now been charged by police. All have been handed football banning orders.
Census staff have carried out more than 1 million doorstep visits to try to get more people to complete the survey. The deadline for the census has been extended until the end of the month because of a low response rate.
An 88-year-old man has been charged after a schoolboy was allegedly sexually assaulted in public toilets at an Edinburgh park. The 14-year-old boy was reportedly attacked within the premises in the Meadows over the Easter weekend. The pensioner is due in court next month.
The family of a young father killed after his car crashed and caught fire in Fife say they're heartbroken. 22-year-old Kieran Dudgeon was driving a Ford Focus on the road between Kelty and Saline on Saturday. Police inquiries into the crash are ongoing.
Thieves have smashed their way into a distillery before making off with whisky worth more than £150,000. The burglars drilled through a lock at the family-run Glenfarclas distillery in Speyside before stealing the bottles. Police are looking for 2 men in connection with the break-in.
And latest figures show 77 coronavirus deaths have been recorded in the last 7 days. Data shows just over 1,000 positive cases were also reported. That's down at nearly 14% on the week before. Now, a parent has described applying for the Scottish Government's free young persons bus pass as the bane of her life, as new figures reveal only 30% of those eligible have signed up.
The flagship scheme offers unlimited free bus travel to people under 22 years old. But critics argue it's too complicated and is putting up barriers for those who need it most. Here's our political reporter, Laura Alderman.
Leanne's daughter uses the bus to get to and from school every day. So when a Scottish Government scheme offering free, unlimited bus travel for 5 to 21-year-olds opened up in January, she applied straight away.
It's been a lifesaver, it's great, it saves you a lot of money, it's really convenient. However, when you do get past that initial stage of applying, my daughter's lost her card twice. And it's set up that you're supposed to be able to just put in a card number and order a replacement, and that's not the case. I had to go through the whole process again.
Leanne's not the only applicant facing challenges. New figures show fewer than 1 in 3 of those eligible have so far signed up for the scheme.
To go online, you need photographic ID for you as a parent. You need photographic ID for your child. You need proof of you being their parent or their carer. And you need proof of address. So it's just really complicated, and it's putting up a lot of barriers for a lot of different families.
Even after the application process is complete, parents have been telling us they're still facing long delays for the card to actually arrive. It's supposed to take 10 working days, but we've been hearing from one parent who 3 months after submitting their child's application is still waiting. Take-up is highest in Inverclyde, where the council has urged schools to help pupils get registered.
The Scottish Government need to do far more to ensure that every young person has a free bus pass. They also need to take the burden off young people and parents by coordinating action through schools, youth groups and other organisations to ensure that we are maximising uptake for the bus pass.
The Improvement Service, who are tasked with rolling out the scheme across the country, have made a number of changes to the application process. So, for example, they've looked at changing the identification requirements, and I'm working with the Improvement Service and Transport Scotland officials to look at what further additional changes we might be able to make to the scheme.
The free bus pass could help young people by removing travel costs, but for some applicants, it's driving them to distraction. Laura Alderman, STV News.
Farmers across the country are feeling pressures like never before, with costs for some materials spiralling by more than 300% in the space of a year. The National Farmers Union is warning action must be taken soon, as the country can't import its way out of the crisis as it has before.
But as one of the busiest times of the year comes to an end, there is hope, with farmers getting together at shows across the country for the first time in 3 years. Sasha Spratt reports.
This is an award-winning flock, and after a hiatus of 3 years, they will be shown once more at events across Scotland. But this year is different for farming couple Cameron and Rachel. Having managed farms for others in the past, in August last year they took on their own.
We'd budgeted for a kind of 5 to 10% rise in all our costs across the board, but for example, fencing materials, metal for fencing last week jumped 25% in one go, which is jumps that we did not expect to see, and most things have either jumped between 25 to 50%, with fertiliser jumping up as high as 370%, so it's not something we predicted, and it's not something 99% of farmers predicted.
The biggest fear is that it comes to the point where costs are just too high. You're constantly worrying every month when you're coming to do your accounts, you're thinking this isn't breaking even, and that's a terrifying thought, because you put everything into it. You put your heart, your soul, you put your work, your effort and everything, and to see it not turn over a profit and to become that difficult where you're not enjoying it anymore, I think that's the biggest worry.
Yeah, come by.
The cost of living crisis is hitting farmers hard, and eventually the rise in prices will be passed on, or there's a warning Scotland and the UK will lose much of its food production industry.
We're fully 60% self-sufficient in food, and we're certainly we used to be about 80% about 20, 30 years ago. It's not something to be proud of. We're not going to be able to import our way out of this as we have done in the past. So if we don't start supporting our own producers, we won't have a domestic production to support.
As we move past the pandemic, agricultural shows are returning, but they aren't immune to rising costs either. Ayr Racecourse hosted the town's county show over the weekend. Organisers there faced an overall bill of more than £10,000 higher than previous years. And as Cameron and Rachel get ready for next month's Royal Highland Show, organisers of the country's largest gathering say it's getting more expensive for them too. But with celebrations set for the event's 200th anniversary, there's promises it will be bigger and better than ever. Sasha Spratt, STV News.
Well, as we've already heard, Rangers fans have started on their journey to Seville. Some have spent hundreds of pounds to make the trip and are using planes, trains and automobiles to make it to the south of Spain. But they say it's a game they just couldn't miss. Darren McRae met fans at Glasgow Airport.
Each is following their own route, but all lead to one place, Seville. Rangers fans are on their way, and they've all got a story to tell of their journey.
Planes, trains and automobiles. Journey of a lifetime. Absolutely. Absolute lifetime. Dreams come true.
Gone from here to Poland. Poland to Turin and then Turin to Valencia.
Bristol to Malaga. The way back we're going from Malaga to Dublin back to here. That work doesn't matter, even if the boss is watching, work doesn't matter. No, for this trip we're going.
The south of Spain's the destination, but those travelling are coming from all across the globe.
I'm actually flying from Edinburgh to Madrid, and then we're meeting up with my nephew who's flying over for Japan. It's more for him. He's got about a 30-hour journey, a 30-hour flight ride to go over to where we're going, but you can't miss it.
Some have travelled before.
Been to Barcelona, and I thought that was going to be a once in a lifetime, but this beats it.
For some, it's their first time.
Passport? What does that mean? No, shut up. What does that mean? Am I going to Seville? Yes! Yes! Come on!
I got a big surprise with the kits and everything, and I just had a pretty good reaction, a very good reaction. Dad, my cousin and my uncle were going, and I would have never forgive them if they win. I would have just shouted at for the rest of his life.
With just a matter of weeks to prepare, some supporters weren't able to change pre-booked holiday plans.
I tried to talk her into it, but no, she wasn't for it. She wasn't for
chance. We've been waiting this holiday for 3 years. So
because of COVID and everything.
Yeah,
so it's been booked, but I said I'll take you to Seville for 2 weeks if you want to go instead of going to Turkey for a week, but no, she wasn't for it. So we're off to Turkey.
Up to 100,000 Rangers supporters are expected to descend on Seville. Those making the journey hope it is one to remember. Darren McRae, STV News.
Well, as we saw, Rahman is already in Seville. Let's go back to him for the sport.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Hello again from the Spanish city of Seville, which will host the Europa League final between Rangers and Eintracht Frankfurt on Wednesday night. I can tell you the Rangers squad have arrived in the city within the last few minutes. The Albert side have a chance of creating history by winning the club's second European trophy. Midfielder Aaron Ramsey says the players will need to give everything on Wednesday night to win the final. Destination Seville. The Rangers squad flew out to Spain earlier with one aim: to ensure the Europa League trophy is with them when they return.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement around the club. Put ourselves in an unbelievable position. So, we've produced some memorable results and performances throughout this campaign. And now there's just one step further. So we're there. So we have a chance of creating history with this club.
When playing for Arsenal, Ramsey missed the club's Europa League final against Chelsea 3 years ago due to injury. The disappointment of not playing in that game will be eased if he gets the nod to face Frankfurt.
To play in a final of the European competition, they don't come around very often. So, unfortunately, I missed the Arsenal one a few years back. But hopefully now I can, make up for it in this final.
Ramsey played an hour in Rangers' 3-1 win against Hearts on Saturday. Giovanni van Bronckhorst rested most of his first-team regulars as he gave youngsters the chance to impress, a chance they embraced, with Alex Lowry and Cole McKinnon both scoring. All focus has now switched to Wednesday's final, which will be played here at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan Stadium. Rangers have been allocated just 9,500 tickets, but tens of thousands are expected in Seville.
I've been hearing some crazy stories. I'm still trying to sort out. I'm sorting out family as well. So it's been carnage. It's been carnage. People saying getting suitcases and stuff, but it's mad.
Well, as I said, the final will be played at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan Stadium, and Ronnie Charters is there for us. Ronnie.
Yes, Raman, the countdown is well and truly on here as Rangers take on Eintracht Frankfurt at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan on Wednesday night. Normally the home of Sevilla of La Liga, but this week UEFA are in full control ahead of this Europa League final. A capacity normally of just over 40,000 inside the stadium. For the allocation, Rangers have 9,500, but you can imagine come kick-off on Wednesday night there'll be a few more Rangers fans crammed into this stadium behind me. In terms of the team themselves, well, they have now touched down in Seville and made it to their base camp. Tomorrow, Giovanni van Bronckhorst and his players will train on the pitch behind me at the stadium before doing their media conference. The Dutchman says he's honoured to have guided Rangers this far in the Europa League. It was 50 years ago that the Barcelona Bears last lifted a European trophy for Rangers. This time, here at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan Stadium, this new crop of Rangers players have a chance to write their names in the history books. Raman.
They certainly do, Ronnie. Thanks very much for that. We'll have more from you throughout the week. OK, let's give you some other football news now. And Ange Postecoglou has praised his players' resilience and attitude after Celtic lifted the Premiership trophy at the weekend. The Parkhead manager admitted the squad has come through some tough times as they rounded off the season with a 6-0 thumping of Motherwell. Here's Ollie Dickinson.
Champions once again, Callum McGregor lifting the top flight trophy at Celtic Park. And if the title was won against Dundee United midweek, it was celebrated in a 6-0 thrashing of Motherwell. It took 20 minutes for Celtic to break down the Steelmen, but Kyogo's opener was a sign of things to come. After David Turnbull got the second and Kyogo bagged his brace, Jota got in on the act for Celtic's fourth. Georgios Giacomakis came off the bench to grab the 5th and 6th, his 12th and 13th in his debut season. With the trophy back in Celtic hands, the challenge now is defending it. Meanwhile, there was late drama at Dingwall as Nicky Clark's 89th minute winner secured Dundee United 4th spot and a place in the 3rd qualifying round of the Europa Conference League. On to Sunday, and a goalless draw at Pittodrie saw Aberdeen and St Mirren end the season 10th and 9th respectively. At Easter Road, James Scott scored a second-half hat-trick in Hibs' 4-0 win over relegation playoff-bound St Johnstone. And Alan Forrest got the winner as Livingston came from behind to beat already relegated Dundee 2-1. Ollie Dickinson, STV News.
Well, that is all your sport from the city of Seville. Keep across all of our platforms for all the build-up ahead of Wednesday night's final. I'll see you again tomorrow.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Now, so the weather with Sean and all that bright orange on his map, well, it just isn't reaching us.
Well, we've got some storm systems out in the Atlantic. Don't worry about those. They're just scooping in the warmer air for the time being. Top temperatures tomorrow still into low 20s in some spots, but temperatures tailing off a bit as we go through the week, and the weather certainly looking a little bit more showery, rather windy at times in the northwest later on the week and the weekend. Let's look at your forecast.
A light drizzle is coming in from the west. TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Now, first of all, I'm going to apologise for yesterday's forecast. It was a bit of a bust, of course. Weather, not an exact science. And I did say the weather looked good through the weekend. And then we ended up with those thundery showers. When we've got these plumes of warmer air coming up from Iberia, it can be quite tricky at times. And yes, we had those heavy showers yesterday. Today's not been great. We've had the cloud, we've had the rain, but that all clears away northwards. Temperatures about 10 or 11 degrees Celsius. A lot of misty low cloud developing across lights of Arran, Kintyre, Isla, Jura into tomorrow morning. But that clears away. And then we've got a band of rain developing, and again, because we've got this warmer air pulling up from the south, some of that rain could turn out to be quite heavy by the end of the afternoon, particularly across South Ayrshire, Argyll and also across the Highlands. Temperatures reaching around 19 or 20 degrees across lights of Stirling and Falkirk, Clackmannanshire, so still feeling very nice in the sunshine further east, but cloudier skies with that heavier rain coming in from the west later on. That all clears away north and eastwards. Then on Wednesday we're back to drier and sunnier weather. Temperatures about 17 or 18 degrees. Now I know some of you may be heading off to Seville. Some extreme heat, an absolute scorcher, even by Spanish standards. Temperatures into low 40s by the end of the week. So some extreme heat there. Our heat peaking probably about 18, 19 degrees Celsius some spots tomorrow. Temperatures tailing off a bit as we go through the next couple of days. More showery by Friday and the weekend. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels. Sponsor STV Weather.
And finally, a Scottish pensioner is returning to his roots to take up a career in barbering 4 decades after first picking up his clippers.
Refusing to fade away, 66-year-old James Cleland is training under one of Scotland's top barbers. He's not letting retirement stop him from achieving his dream of becoming a mobile hairdresser. Polly Bartlett went to meet him.
Trainee barber James isn't relaxing in retirement.
I'm still 18 in the head. You know, my daughter thinks I'm crazy, you know what I mean, at times, but I go out and party with them. We hit clubs, we hit night, go out for meals, and I'm with all the students, you know what I mean.
James always wanted to be a barber, but found work that was better paid in factories when he was younger. After 4 decades, he's returning to his roots and proving it's never too late to embark on your dream career.
Life's too short, you know what I mean? What's the point of slowing down? My mum and dad were 95, my grandfather was 105. Do you know what I mean? So I've still got a few years left me. I see too many of my friends, and what they do is go to the pub, do nothing. Do you know, that's not me. That's just not me.
In a varied career, the 66-year-old has been an estate agent. He's hit the decks as a DJ, had a spell as a disco dancer in Benidorm, and even owned a pub and a cafe.
James told me about a lot of things he's done previously. He's got quite, a varied, path of what he's done throughout his life, which was quite interesting. So, if I can help him add something else new onto that, I'm more than happy to do so.
The pensioner has been sharing life advice with the younger students on the course.
You would never think he's the age that he is, and that's the best way to be. I think I always say to my parents, that's the way I'm going to be when I'm older. Man. Just keep going, do you know what I mean? He's got youth in him and it's brilliant, superb.
Take life as it comes. Don't take things too seriously. You can't, you just can't, do you know what I mean?
The pensioner will graduate in a few weeks' time and plans to open a mobile salon for the elderly. It's safe to say this trainee barber is a cut above the rest. Polly Bartlett, STV News, Glasgow.
Not a word, Kellyanne.
It's very bold. Very bold.
Beg your pardon?
Bold. I said bold, John. Bold.
You're right.